research, there's lots of new clinical trial data, and lots of options for people. This was a review in JACC recently, commissioned by JACC, which essentially looked at the different indices out there. So they're looking at just resting PDPA, which of course is the first one, which Grundig started with years and years ago. Then coronary flow reserve, which are flow-based indices, fractional flow reserve, and IFR, which I'm going to talk to you a lot about today. Looked at some of the pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses of all of these. So if you haven't seen this JACC document, this review, have a look. It's a very good read, nice and clear, not too complicated or too dense with equations or anything. So I'm sure many of you have seen the results of these big, large, randomized clinical trials, the defined FLAIR and IFR Sweetheart studies, which were presented by myself and Matthias Gottberg on behalf of all of the investigators at the ACC meeting a few months ago now in Washington. So these data increase the number of data that we have for physiology fourfold in terms of randomized clinical trial. I'm not just talking about IFR, I'm talking about FFR as well. So these are very, very big studies, and they're conducted, in the very highest possible ways that we have for any other physiology study. You heard yet again on the stage after Orbiter was presented at TCT, Bill Fearon, they were asking him all about the blinding, they were asking him all about, was there any potential bias and so on. And we actually learned and took lessons from that in this study. So essentially, there was blinding of the patient and blinding of the follow-up team from the randomization arm. We wanted to ensure that we had good data quality, so every single investigator had to take a screenshot, like you do whenever you make a measurement of the normalization, then take a measurement of the actual measurement where you make your clinical decision, and then at the end of a drift check at the end. It had to do for every single case, and we checked them all to make sure that they were there and they were present. So this ensured we had good quality data. Everyone was doing things by the book, and indeed now many of them are doing this routinely, documenting this for patient records. So 2,500 patients, one-to-one randomization using a single cut point of FFR established 0.80, IFR 0.89. And this is a non-inferiority study looking at major adverse cardiac events as hard clinical endpoints of death, so all-cause death, non-fatal myocardial infarction, or unplanned revascularization. So this is essentially identical design for FLAIR and Sweetheart. Sweetheart was slightly smaller at 2,000, and Sweetheart was restricted to the Scandinavian countries, whereas FLAIR was a worldwide study, first physiology worldwide study, so across the United States, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Asia, and Australia as well. So very, very big study, I think 19 countries, about 50 centers. So when the results of these two studies, which individually don't show any difference between IFR and FFR, were put together, this amounts to just under 4,500 patients. So this is absolutely huge if you compare to the data that we have out there already. This was data presented, this patient-level pooled analysis by Javier Escanad at EuroPCR meeting. This is actually under review at the moment. I think very soon will be published. And essentially, it's looking at clinical decision-making, revascularization decision-making, using either an IFR or FFR guided approach. Hazard rate here is almost 1. The P is 0.81. You see, it doesn't matter if you use an IFR or FFR guided approach. The two curves overlay one another. Sometimes one's above, sometimes one's below, across the whole of the 12-month follow-up period. So take-home message from me here is decision-making using FFR or IFR have very similar outcomes.
Justin?
Yep.
This is Mark Campbell. I wonder if I could just interrupt for a second. I was at TCT,
no problem, please.
And someone mentioned at a presentation that there was a recent meta-analysis of these two trials that suggested that there might be a trend towards higher death in MI in the IFR group. And so I try to find that. It's like a brief report.
It's an e-letter, so it's like a blog on circulation. And I'm not sure if you've read it, but it's quite a unique piece of writing, I have to say. I say that with understatement because you show it to any of the statisticians, and so essentially what they try and do. Actually, let me just skip forward a few slides. So this is the breakdown from this large pooled analysis. This is actually what the data is. So what they're talking about is death from cardiovascular causes, and they're talking about a difference of 0.2% as being a trend for difference in death. Yeah.